And please have some water. Yeah. Shakti Garu, can we go for live?
Yeah, Shanta Garu, we are live now.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, once again, friends. So let's all connect today. The part 2 of consciousness, as we have started Master SETH wisdom from the book The Eternal Validity of the Soul. SETH speaks. So in the last session, we got introduced to the topic consciousness and the levels of consciousness. What are the hurdles? So how we have to connect with the consciousness, and and later on he explained about 5 senses. And now today, a bit more detail. So SETH Master is explaining about how we can not only to connect, but how our belief system and what are the hurdles to connect with the consciousness. So here he says, SETH Master, he says, I am primarily with a message. So here says, I am a teacher and I am with a message. You can create the world that you know. He is saying here, you can create the world that you know. You have been given perhaps the most awesome gift of all ability to project your thoughts outward into your physical form. So I will repeat this sentence. You have been given perhaps the most awesome gift of all ability to project your thoughts outward into physical form. So only we have this ability, friends. So whatever the thought we can manifest, take into the physical form, means we can manifest our thoughts. The gift brings you a responsibility, and many of you are tempted to congratulate yourself on the success of your lives and blame God, fate, and society for your failures. In like manner, mankind has a tendency to project his own guilt and his own errors upon a Father God, image who, it seems, must grow weary of so many complaints. So in this paragraph, so he is saying that this gift of manifestation, it's a great responsibility, but if we success in this, if we have succeeded of whatever we think, if we manifest, we congratulate ourselves. And whatever the errors, if any adverse effects happens, we blame others. God, not only God. So if we believe in God, or if some people believe in fate, some people say it's because of society, it's because of others. That means we point fingers on others, and we don't think that it's happened because of us. So everything, whatever the cause, the reason behind, it's us. We have created that. But forgetting about all this, so we blame others. And next he continues, the fact is that each of you create your own physical reality, and you create both the glories and the terrors that exist within your earthly experience. Until you realize that you are the creators, you will refuse to accept this responsibility. So why he says here the responsibility, he has repeated the word responsibility. So when we manifest, when we think of anything, so if any thought arises, So it's we are responsible. And next is whatever the deeds it's come, and we are the responsible. So from starting to ending, it's our responsibility. So nor can you blame a devil for the world's misfortune. You have grown sophisticated enough to realize that the devil is a projection of your own psychic, but you have not grown wise enough to learn how to use your creativity constructively. So many in this society, or though they are meditators, so something gets affect. They think that because of some negative energy. No. So there is no such thing as this is Mahathir Babaji also said, there is no duality. There is no good or bad. There is no no negativity, like on outside in the universe. There is no negativity. So everything is within us. So when we attract we attract certain energies in the universe. So we attract those, and we are creating our own life. We are creating our own reality. So there is nothing like some energy is affecting us, but instead it is in us. So we are affected with that own energy of us. So he says, and next he continues, and this is what he explained. This is a message, friends. So he said about creativity. So constructing. So creativity constructively. That means how to learn enough to learn how to use your creativity constructively, he said. So we have to create. And here, so this is not from the book. So he has explained for us how to create constructively. So the creation has to be better. So he said, catch hold of each and every confronting thoughts. So what is confronting thoughts mean? Could be negative thoughts, could be low energy. Instead of negative, we can say like low energy thoughts. So low energy thoughts from fears, rising from fears, from our myths and belief pattern. So this is what he said. Whatever the thought you get, you have to hold that thought. And here he says, when we think about anything, and when it gets manifested, there will be a gap between thought, creation of a thought, and manifestation. So there will be a time gap. So in that time gap also we can correct, but instead we go with our own thoughts. We think that, and we immediately we try to bring that into physical reality. So he says, catch hold of each and every thought. That means here we have to be aware of our thoughts. So what are the root cause? From where did God emerge from? So next he says, because we build our reality from our own thoughts. So why he is saying to catch hold? That means why he is saying here to be awareness, to be in aware of our thoughts, because we build our reality from our own thoughts. So we are the soul creators. Thoughts are formed layers by layers. While creating a thought, you are connected to multi-dimensional of yourself. So he says here, thoughts are formed layers by layers. We think that is just a thought. That minute thought, that energy or anything you can say, it's formed because it's formed by layers by layers. In a simple way, like we can take an example, like like writing a single word. Maybe a single letter, we can say like alphabet. But a word is a construct of some alphabets. So we frame that alphabets, each and every alphabet, we take it and we frame certain word. So definitely there will be two or more than two, like a single word. That a single word considered as a thought, a single thought. That means we think that is a single thought, but a single thought is formed by layers. So that what are those layers? So we are creating, we are like multi-dimensional of ourselves. That means a single, he says, a single thought is a combination of multi-consciousness. So here, when we think of anything, it's a combination of consciousness of our own self. We are, because we are multi-dimensional beings, we are infinite beings, we are not this physical body alone. And next, this is what he said to us. So how thoughts are formed, and what's the layers in the thought. And again, coming to the book, consciousness is a way. So he says, consciousness is a way of perceiving the various dimensions of reality. Consciousness, as you know, it is highly specialized. The physical senses allow you to perceive the three-dimensional world, and yet, by their very nature, they can inhibit the perception of other equally valid dimensions. Just try to understand, friends. Here he is saying about our physical senses. You know, when he last session, when he said about the levels of consciousness, the first level is when we connect to the outer consciousness, or we connect to the consciousness with our physical senses, right? That is the first level. And in that first level, here he says, though we connect with these physical senses, though we connect with this outer world, and yet their nature can be inhibit the perception of other equally valid dimensions. That means the energies. So we know the frequency. When we connect, when our frequency connects with equal frequency of other consciousness, we attract those, right? So here also he says, not only the physical, with our physical senses, not only we connect with the three dimension, but the frequency which is matched to the three-dimensional level, we connect to the other consciousness also. So this earth is not only the three dimension, there are other 3D dimensionals, that means other frequencies which match with these physical senses, which match with this frequency. So that's what he said in the message. It's a combination of consciousness, right? So here is a combination of consciousness. So we connect with the three-dimensional and also the same level of frequency of other dimensions also as well. So most of you identify with your daily physically oriented self. You would not think of identifying with one portion of your body and ignoring all other parts. And yet you are doing the same thing. When you imagine that the egoistical self carries the burden of your identity. So this line, so here, when I was reading, he explained about the ego level. And here, and again, we can connect to the previous session about what are the debris, what we need to leave behind when we are going to connect with the consciousness. So he said here, the egoistical. So we think that the egoistical self carries that we think we are, the identity of us comes from the egoistical self of our own self. See, for example, I think this is Sarada, so I am me, thinking that this is me. Actually, this is physical body or whatever. My identity, I project my identity from my egoistical self. But when I drop that egoistical self, that when I drop my ego self, I am not only this body, and I am not only this consciousness. I am everything. I'm you, and I'm nature, I'm animal. So anything I can connect with. So the ego, we have to drop that ego in order to connect with the higher consciousness, and not only higher, but with the other consciousness. And again, he says about animal. Here he is trying to explain. So here are with other beings as well. So animals. So what happened is when Seth Master is delivering this subject, so this wisdom to Jane Roberts. So Jane Roberts in his house, in her house, has a pet, a cat. So the cat, he says, the cat is aware of Seth Master consciousness. These animals, they can identify other consciousness. They have that ability, like dogs and other animals, even any animal you take, have this consciousness of sensing other beings, other consciousness. So here he says, here he says, since we have mentioned animals, that he has mentioned about the pet, Jane Roberts' pet, a cat. So it is it is resting on a table. Yeah, but the cat knows about the consciousness of Seth Master. That means the cat sensed not only her owners, not only her masters, but also the Seth Master as well. So since we have mentioned animals, let me say here that they do possess a kind of consciousness that does not allow them as many freedoms as your own. So they don't have such that freedom as of us. So at the same time, they are not hampered in its use by certain characteristics that often impede the practical potential of human consciousness. So here think about trends, they can identify, they have that, but they are not having such freedom as us. So they can identify, but they can't connect, or they can't have that ability of human nature, human consciousness. And again, today there are a bit more readings plans, bit more reading. So he want me to know to read from this book, to read from his wisdom, so that we can connect with his energies as well. And here is thinking about, and next continuing about inner ego and outer ego. So we know about ego, right? We are very well known about ego. But what is this inner ego and outer ego? So I call this seemingly, so Seth Master is saying, I call this seemingly unconscious, the inner ego, for it directs inner activities. Our inner ego directs inner activities. It correlates information that is perceived not through the physical senses, but through other inner channels. So here, what we need. So we got this here, friends. So what is the inner ego is? It is connected. It correlates information that is perceived not through the physical senses, our inner self, but through the other inner channels. So first we have to believe that we are multidimensional beings, and we have that many channels in us, like like satellite, like TV. We have many channels, and we connect to any one channel. So whatever the channel we prefer, so we like, so we switch on that channel. So in the same way, so this perceived not through the physical, but the other inner channels. It is the inner perceiver of reality that exists beyond the three-dimensional. That means we can channel, we can connect to the consciousness of beyond this physical reality that we have to think. And we have that ability, we have that inner ego, that is inner ego, he says. And again, coming to the levels of consciousness, he said about slowly when we drop, slowly when we connect to the inner self, so we can raise that ability of different clairvoyance, different inner senses. We can build that inner senses. And again, it carries within the memory of each of your past experiences. It is the inner perceiver of the reality that exists beyond the three-dimensional. It carries within it the memory of each of your past experiences. It looks into the subjective dimensions that are literally infinite, and from these subjective dimensions, all objective realities flow. So again, he trying to explain us how we are creating our own reality by connecting with our past experiences. So here past experiences means what? So not only this life experiences, friends, but from the past lives. We have that memory. We take that memory in ourselves. When we are taking birth, we take memories from the past life. And it's amazing to know even the taste buds of us has memory that I have experienced. So when the topic comes, definitely I will share my experience. No, the taste buds also has a memory. We think that we will enjoy different dishes, or we will flavors, but some memories we carry from the past life. Okay, so he says here, all this so how this inner ego is working based on the past experiences. That means we are creating here with inner ego and outer ego, the combination of inner and outer ego. Okay, and so what is the outer ego? The outer ego, it's what he explained about about identifying our own self. Okay, the outer ego and the inner ego operate together, the one to enable you to manipulate in the world that you know, the other to bring you those delicate inner perceptions without which physical existence could not be maintained. There is, however, a portion of you, the deeper identity, who forms both the inner ego and the outer ego, who decides that you would be a physical being in this place, in this time. This is the core of your physical identity, the psychic seed from which you sprang, the multi-dimensional personality of which you are part. So, he in each and every paragraph here in first chapter, when we take, so he explains about the inner, explains about the consciousness of our own self, right? So in this consciousness, when I'm reading each and every paragraph, so I thought, okay, so I almost got tired so of listening to him. So you are not this physical body, you are something else, you are more than this, you are you don't think you are such a greater consciousness. So he think, okay, so so what is the use of this? So okay, I believe that I'm not this, I'm not limiting to this physical level, it's a physical existence, but I'm more than that. So but what is the use of knowing that? I really question to this, to Seth Master. So immediately when I question this, I got this answer in the next paragraph itself. So we all have this question, right? So I'm saying this, so you think that, okay, then what next? What we have to do with this, knowing about multi-dimensional beings, what? So he says, all necessary information is given to you through these inner channels. So what he explained now, the inner ego, the how it connects with the inner channels, he says about given through these inner channels, and unbelievable inner activities takes place before you can so much lift a finger, flicker an eyelid, or read this sentence upon the page. This portion of your identity is quite natively clairvoyant and telepathic, so that you are warned of disasters before before they occur, whether or not you consciously accept the message, and all communication takes place long before a word is spoken. This is what happens, friends. That means we can change our reality. When we connect to this multi-dimensional consciousness, when we believe that we are greater consciousness, not only this, so what we can do just in a lift of a finger, that means or the flicker of an eyelid, what happens is we can change our reality. We can quite natively, that means clairvoyant. He has explained all the senses, right, what we can build. So in that clairvoyant, a telepathic communication, we can channel through telepathy the other consciousness. That means other consciousness warns us, so warns us before a disaster before happening of a disaster. That means we can sense. So some call it as sixth sense, some call it as a message that we have received from the other masters, or some call it as something they have sensed. So when we sense or something of a message, or like any advice, so when we get to that sixth sense, or when we get to that thought, immediately when we drop this, whatever what we think, what we thought of the past, so when we drop that, we create a better reality, we create a bright reality. So that means, how we can change our reality. That is what he said. There is a difference. So there will be a time gap between a thought and a thought getting manifested. So there will be a time gap. In the time gap, though we get a thought from our physical reality, though we get from the limited consciousness of us, so when we get these again, when we refine those thoughts, when we connect with the higher consciousness, or a different consciousness which is advising you not to do that, not to go with the previous thought, when we drop that, so when we go with the message or the telepathic message, definitely that means whatever it's happening, we can we can stop that, or we can refine that, we can even make it better. So this is what the use of dropping the thought of we are not just this body. We all have that ability of telepathy, we all have that. So just we need to believe. And about next he says about the self that you know. Just a minute. Yeah, the self that you know, but one fragment of your entire identity. These fragment cells are not strung together, however, like beads of a string. So take a string with the beads. So they say that they are more like a various kinds of skin of an onion or segment of an orange, all connected through the one vitality and growing out into various realities while springing from the same source. So just give a thought of it. What he is trying to explain here. We believe that until now he said about multi dimensions or multi consciousness. No, all these consciousness are just like a beads of a string. That means all these consciousness are connected. We are thinking that it is somewhere else, but it is in us, and it is also connected like a peels of orange, like a skin of an onion, or no segments of orange. So orange, how this how the orange is, we have 12 or some segments. So in the same way, though all these consciousness are collective, or collectively even one, they are one, but we think that they are different. So that we have to draw again. And he says about the first, yeah, for convenience sake. So he's saying to us, for convenience sake, you close out the multi-dimensional inner self, inner communications that live between the tiniest part of your flesh. Yet even as physical creatures, you are to same extent a portion of other consciousness. That means we have that consciousness, and that consciousness has our consciousness, because we are all like a beads of a string. There are no limitations to the self, there are no limitations to its potentials. You can adapt no artificial limitations through your own ignorance. However, you can identify, for example, with your outer ego alone, and cut yourself off from the abilities that are part of you. So again, it's us. Again, we are disconnecting from those consciousness, from those multi-consciousness with our ego self. You can deny, but you cannot change the facts. So this is the fact, but you can deny, he says. The The personality is multidimensional, even though many people hide their heads, frequently speaking, in the sand of three-dimensional existence and pretend there is nothing more. So this is the ego is a jealous god, and it wants its interest served. It does not want to admit the reality of any dimensions except those within which it feels comfortable and can understand. And from the beginning, he says, the Seth Master said that, you feel comfortable. So we always want to be in a comfortable place, right? So the first thing he said is, you have to break that comfort. In order to explore, you have to break that comfort. In order to explore other consciousness, you have to break that comfort. Until you break that comfort zone, you can't create. So always, he said, and this is also not from the book, he explained to us that a pure, so a thought, a better, or the quality, we can say, a quality thought arises from the creativity, from creative. So that means we are creating here, right? So any thought, that means we are creating the thought. So from creation, a thought is, germinating. So that creativity place has to be, very pure. And that creativity should not go to the lower levels, but it has to be in the higher levels. So when that creativity space in the higher levels, we can create a quality thought. And here he says, it feels comfortable and can understand. It means to be an aid, but it has allowed you to become a trend. Even so, it is much more resilient and eager to learn than is generally supposed. It is not natively rigid as it seems. It's curiosity that can be a great value. So finally, we have to build that curiosity, friends. And from this, we came to an end of this chapter, first chapter. Yes, first chapter, I do not have a physical body, yet I am writing this book. And last, we can end with this sentence. The physical senses usually blind you to these open channels, for they perceive reality only in their own image. To some extent, then, I enter your reality through a psychological wrap in your space and time. So how he entered in us, it's not us. He says that he entered into our consciousness and he is guiding us. And also, he's sharing his wisdom. So thank you so much, friends. This is all about the first chapter. And the next week, we'll continue the second chapter. My present environment, work and activities. This Seth Master's environment. It will be very interesting to know about his environment and beautiful experiences. And one experience I got when this first chapter, when I'm reading this first chapter, I thought about, we think that we are only just a single in the greater ocean. So this universe is a ocean and we are only a single drop. So whatever we do, whether we help, we say this line, so I'm just a single drop in this great ocean and this great work. So I said the same line to him, and Seth Master said, never ever think that you are a drop. Never ever think that. Then don't frame you into a tiny thing or in a small part. You don't know your part. You can't measure your part, So in this whole universe, we have certain value. So we need it for this universe and universe need us. So that means, so we are not confined to a single drop, or we are not confined to some part, he said. So never ever limit to a single drop of yourself to a single drop. So what happens is, when we think of that I'm a small drop, that means here we are limiting our abilities. We are limiting ourselves. So thus we are more than what we think. So yeah, thank you so much, friends. At all you want to share, you want to anything of your experience, you can unmute yourself. And let me have some water. Meanwhile, you can raise your hand, friends. Okay. Yes, Ram sir.
Thanks a lot, Sharda garu. Very deep wisdom. Indeed, listening, it was like a trance state, an energy that was quite deep. And, it's a constant reminder that we are creating our own realities. It's a constant reminder. And very deep wisdom. I know this is something, even when I read this book, I used to read many times the same page. It seems like it is there, but no, let me read again. Let me read again.
Yeah.
So it was wonderful, considering Seth Master was as well sharing things that are not in the book, like how to create constructively, and that how important it is to hold on every thought, including thoughts which are confronting to us. So very beautiful. And it is also important that we generally define ourselves, I'm a small part in the big thing. And again, you see, these masters correct us instantly. They say never see yourself smaller, which means they see ourselves as much as they are. So whenever we see a master, whenever we see a god, whenever we see a being, they come to us because they know that we are no smaller than themselves. And so they come out of that equality. So it is very beautiful. And we constantly need to be curious, and that is what that drives more wisdom. So very beautiful. Thank you, Sarada.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, when I was reading, so what you said is, no, I want to reread. We want to reread that paragraph. The same thing happened. So when I was reading the first paragraph, when I again continuing reading second paragraph, everything from the first paragraph will be wiped off. And again, I used to go back to build that connection with what he is actually saying. But no, friends, when we request the master, so definitely they will help us, right? So this is how I literally said, I can't alone read, so you have to help. So thank you so much. With all no sharings, so shall we end the session? So again, friends, if you feel connected to this wisdom, so please go through the book. You definitely you can explore the truth in different directions, in different angles, right? Different dimensions. So yeah, so thank you so much. Thanks for the messages. So shall we end the session?